So welcome, everybody. You took a wonderful step by being here today. Education is very, very important for all of us in the industry. My name is Ralph Giordano, AIFD, PFCI, FSMD, blah, 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 blah. I do have the alphabet soup behind my name. I pretty much have every cred you can get in this industry. All that really means is I'm passionate about education, and I'm passionate about giving out the correct information in the industry. There's too many myths out there. And that's what this whole tour is all about. The Floral Truth Myth-Busting Tour. Now, this is going across the entire country from all the Kennicott locations all over the place. Kennicott is one of the few locations in the country that take the time, effort, and energy to make sure that all the products that they're providing to you are at top quality. There is actually an audit kit that FloraLife provides, and a rep can come out to your location if you want, and they can test your water, they can test your air quality, they can do all sorts of different tests. Kennicott is one of the few that actually do that to their own locations. So they make sure that there's no harmful bacteria, that the water level is correct, the pH level is correct, and all of those things. And those are things that you should be doing yourself. So today, we're going to bust some myths. Now, at your seat, you do have a wonderful little flyer provided by FloraLife. And FloraLife is going through a rebranding stage, so don't be confused by different types of labeling. It's all the same product. It's just a new eco-friendly style label. And it's more made to design, it's going to become more simplified to understand each category. But this is a little flyer for you guys to keep. And then we got some handy-dandy little finger fans here, right? So today what we're going to do is I'm going to be spewing out some questions, some myths. And we're going to see what everyone thinks, true or false. And I will reply to each one and answer them and answer some questions. So I've got a couple of minutes in between each question, so if we, in between each item. So if we have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand, ask. Afterwards, I'll be sticking around all day. So if you got any important questions and you want some more in-depth, please reach out and let me know. So quick question, how many people in the audience are brick and mortar shops? Yeah, how many people are event or studio? Okay, so in both of those situations, you're still going to take care of your product the same way. A little bit different on a brick and mortar for just a couple of reasons. We're looking more for longevity, and for events, you're looking more to get it open as quick as possible and get to the right blooming. So the line of products that FloraLife offers is an amazing line of products. And hopefully each and every one of you are using pretty much every one of these products in the correct fashion. Today we're going to talk about some of them, and I'm going to focus in on a few individual ones. If you have any questions, again, like I said, ask. All right, so first question. FloraLife was nice to provide me with this nice little grouping of questions. So I'm going to read them straight. I read them all, but I'm going to read them just to make sure I get them all straight for you guys. So, the single most important factor in post-harvest flower care and handling is temperature. So what do you guys think about that? True or false? Let's see. Anyone? Anyone want to take a wing at it? True or false? So temperature is the most important thing. All right. It's true. Temperature is the most important thing. So the reason being is cold water does not harbor bacteria. Warm water harbors bacteria. Bacteria is the #1 killer of botanicals. It clogs the stems, it gives droopy heads, it restricts them from blossoming correctly. So whenever possible, you always want to cold hydrate. Now, even though you're an event florist and you're trying to get something open, plan one day earlier with your product. Get that product in, put it through the proper processes, and cold hydrate it overnight. Then pull it out of your cooler, develop it, open it, and so on and so forth. It will firm up faster, it'll open up quicker, it'll stay longer, it'll reach its fullest potential by just doing that one step of cold hydration. All right, so it is very important. All right? Okay. The source of your flower materials. Buying from quality wholesalers directly impacts the freshness, vase life, and overall quality of your cut flowers. So what do we think about that? Is buying from a reputable source that takes care of all their products important? Yes, absolutely. It is true. So like I said before, when you have a wholesaler that takes the time, any effort, any energy to put all their stuff through the proper processes, you're already getting that initial boost, that initial proper process. Now, should we repeat that process? Absolutely. Because you never really know how long it's been hydrating, or how long it's been dry packed, or how long in between those two stages, if the cold chain was ever broken. So you definitely want to work with your cold hydration process, even though places like this take the extra effort to do that stage for you in most cases. All right? This is a good one. I love this one. Bleach is less expensive alternative to professional floral cleaning as an effective way to kill bacteria. So what do we think about bleach? Anyone want to take a gamut at it? Anyone? What do we got? Everyone's two. We got false, 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 false. All right. False. Yeah. So bleach, little known scientific fact. When you stop smelling bleach, it has stopped working. Okay? Bleach is only an initial cleaning product. Now, if you want your buckets sparkly white, clean them with some bleach. But don't forget to use DCD. Do we all use DCD? Do we all know what DCD is? One of the things about DCD that a lot of people use incorrectly is you are not supposed to rinse off the DCD. So a simple process that I do in my shop is we start with a clean bucket, however that may be, okay? Whether it's brand new or whether we clean it because it had something in it that developed some type of staining, right? Bleach or scrubbing or so on. So once we fill our buckets with our products that we're going to be using, and then once we're done with that bucket, we dump that bucket, rinse off on any of the loose materials that may be on it, spray it inside with a diluted version of DCD, and this stuff goes a long way. Flip it upside down to dry and walk away. Just walk away. It builds up an invisible layer that continues to kill bacteria time after time after time. So the more you use it, the more it builds up. It won't completely prevent, but it will also help with stuck buckets. Because buckets get dirty, and they build up a little bit of bacteria, and they build up a little bit of friction when that happens. So the more that DCD is used and the more the buckets are clean, less they'll stick together. Now, sizing of different buckets, that's a different story. You put a 5-gallon bucket from one brand and a 5-gallon bucket from another brand, and somebody made it a little bit bigger, you're stuck. There is a hack for that if you happen to have an air compressor. It does work. I have tried it, but you have to have a good, powerful air compressor. You cram the air compressor in the two, press it, and that air pressure builds up and it'll pop the bucket up. So it does work, but you got to have a good air compressor. All right. So next one. Oh, look at that. I jumped ahead. FloraLife Floral Cleaner is diluted, ready to use FloraLife DCD cleaner in spray form. So I kind of already jumped the gun and already answered that question. So it's true. So you do dilute DCD in order to get you can use it. It's not really recommended to use at full strength, but there are different levels of the strength that you can use depending on what you're using it for. And like I said, it goes a long way. I forget the exact measurement, but it's about 2 ounces or so for a full squirt bottle. So it actually says, let me see if it says it on here. A lot of them say how many things it makes. No, it doesn't say it on the label. Probably sends it somewhere on the back with all that writing. Another little known fact about DCD. During the coronavirus, we all remember that horrible stage in our careers, right? DCD was proven to kill the coronavirus. FloraLife sent out DCD to a ton of major hospitals and major facilities in the world to help them counteract the coronavirus. Because it kills bacteria, and it continues to kill bacteria, even the coronavirus. All right. So, FloraLife Quick Dip provides an initial boost of nutrients to quickly feed the flower and start the opening process. So a lot of us, Quick Dip is probably the most popular FloraLife product. How many people use Quick Dip? Yeah, a lot of people use Quick Dip? All right, I bet you guys are using it incorrectly, but we'll get to that. So the answer is false. All right? So it does not contain nutrients to feed. All Quick Dip has is stem unblockers and bacteria fighting formulas. So it is simply designed to break up the carbohydrates that are in the bottom of a stem, loosen up any bacteria, kill any bacteria to allow better water uptake. Okay, so now here's where a lot of people are using Quick Dip incorrectly. You should not reuse it over and over and over and over again. You should not pour the empty, unused pieces back into your container. You should not use it in a metal container. It should be used in a plastic container. Just Tupperware bowl is fine, or glass if you choose. Okay, but that's really all Quick Dip does. It's a cut, dip, and then into your next stage. Now, into your next stage, that really depends on the type of business that you run. So in the retail stage, and in most wholesaler situations, we go into Clear 200. Now, Clear 200 is a holding solution. I joke around and call it the embalming fluid of the floral industry. It gives the flower just enough nutrients to stay alive without forcing it to develop. So you'll get a longer lifespan out of your product by going from a hydration to a 200. Now, in event work, it's a little bit harder to do that because it does prevent it from opening. So in event work and you want it to open, you'll go from your Quick Dip or your HydroFlor into a crystal clear, a 300 food, because that's going to give it the sugars and nutrients. And I probably jumped ahead, but we'll go back to that. All right, so any questions on that? All right, I'm blowing through these pretty quickly to give you time to ask questions. So please feel free to answer some questions. So professional flower food contains the same basic ingredients as 7-Up. So that would be our 300, this one's our Express, this one's our Ultra. These are all flower foods, the little packets, the powder packets. So does it contain the same ingredients as 7-Up? What do you guys think? False? Anyone else want to tackle that one? Sure, we got one true over there. False. We got two trues. It is actually true. It is actually true. So now all that means is that 7-Up has sugars. And the food is basically sugars. It's specific sugars that are designed for the best optimal performance for flowers. But that's what flowers need to develop and get to their fullest stage, is the correct dose of sugars. So speaking of dosing sugars and dosing your product, so today, Kennicott is offering an amazing offer. You guys should have gotten one of these flyers when you first walked in. If not, they're hanging up. So if you buy any 2 1-gallons of any of the FloraLife products, you can get this quick mix for $35. That is a fraction of the regular cost. Now, do we know what this quick mix is? Has anyone ever seen it or heard of it? So remember years ago, the old Miracle Grow, where you'd like put a packet of stuff in there, you fill it with water, and you do your grass? Okay, this is a play on that, basically. You put your liquid in here, whatever one it is that you're using. You change the dial to be the correct amount for the particular one that you're using, and then you hook it up to your hose, and a lot of hoses will connect to your sink faucets, so you don't have to worry about a hose. You just connect it to your faucet, pull the trigger, and fill your bucket. Takes all the guesswork out of it. Fills it up to the correct amount. Now, this is great for event people that have to process on location, or have to fill additional buckets or anything along those lines. Quick, simple, and easy for that. It also works wonderful for smaller shops. If you're a bigger shop and you go through a lot of product, like I go through at my store, our average weekly delivers about 50 boxes of product. So we go through a good amount of product on a weekly basis. So what we do is I have dosatrons, and that is on that flyer that we did before where it says dose. So those are dosatrons. They also have a thing called a blend unit. So the dosatrons and the blend units are a little bit more expensive. They are more of a permanent structure that you mount in your store, but it does the same as this, just in more of a larger scale. So you drop it into like a 5-gallon bucket, or if you're a big shop and you get the big 50-gallon drums, you drop that into there, and then you just walk over, pull the trigger, and you're good to go. This is the smaller version of that exact same concept, designed specifically for smaller shops and event people. It works amazing. I've tried it out myself. All right? And then it takes all the guesswork out of dosing it. Because how many people use powder when they use their products? So the old school method was, let me throw a little in there. Yeah, let me throw a little more. And maybe one more. Shouldn't do that. Should always be the correct amount. All right? And that was a little teaser. Half-strength flour food is better than no flour food at all. So what do you think? If you dose incorrectly and you go to process your product, what do you think? False. Dosing is very important. All of our products are specifically designed for a certain amount of water, designed to do a very specific thing. Now, if you're a tiny bit off, it's not too bad, but you really don't want to underdose. You really don't want to overdose. It is more of a nice fine-tuned thing. And by using things like this or the blend unit or the dosatrons, it takes all the guesswork out of it. You just turn the dial, set the numbers, pull the trigger, and you're good to go. It blends it automatically for you. So it takes all the guesswork out. All right. Is it always necessary to give a dry packed flour a fresh cut before placing in a bucket with a properly mixed flour food? So we all know what dry pack means. So for people that don't, the general idea about dry pack is it comes from the farm, it's cut off the plant, it's processed, it's boxed, and that is the last time that it's seen water. So you get it in its hibernation stage, and it needs that nutrients. So do we always have to cut the stem beforehand? Well, with the correct products, no, you don't. Okay? So, with the correct product, you don't have to. We have a no-cut formula. Oh, that's 300. Where's the no-cut? No, it must be this one. Yeah, Express. There it is. All right, so the Express line. The Express lines are no-cut. It is specifically designed to burn through the carbohydrates that have clogged the stem and allow for better water uptake, kills bacteria, stem unblockers, all that good stuff that our products have. But you don't have to cut. But you know what? I'm old school. All right, I'm a 4th generation designer. My family's been in the industry for over 100 years. So we have seen all the different trends, all the new products. We've seen all that stuff come out. So I'm old school. I can't break the habit. I still cut regardless. But if you use this product and you cut, it's even better. It even works better because it has less stuff to try to break down. You're cutting that right off and it goes straight to the head. So it's a really good product to use. It is a little bit more expensive, but the dosing amount of it is less. So per gallon mixture, it's pretty darn close. And the time-saving factor, once you add that in, it's actually cheaper. All right? So, FloraLife Express 300 can be used effectively on flowers that have been dry packed for up to 2 weeks. 2 weeks, dry packed. What do you guys think? Anyone want to take a gambit at it? Come on, I see you hesitant. Come on. Anyone? All right, true. So proper product, properly stored product, you can keep in your cooler in the cold environment, dry packed, for a minimum of 2 weeks. Some products you can even go longer. I've had my carnations in my cooler sometimes a month. And they still do just fine. Now personally, I take a few additional steps. I pre-clean my product. And if any of you guys have ever saw me talk about processing, that's one of the things we talk about is pre-cleaning our product. So simply that just means is we're cleaning as much of the foliage off the stems as we possibly can by keeping the grower wrapper on, and then we're reboxing. And all that simply does is that cuts down on the moisture that is in the box from those leaves, and moisture leads to mold and bacteria. So you ever open up a box that you forgot about and it's been in there forever, or an old box that you get and all the foliage is black and brown and mushy and nasty? That's not necessarily because it was stored too long. That's usually the result of being stored too long. But pre-cleaning the product will help to reduce that and give you more lifespan on your common flowers. You can do that with roses, carnations, daisies, alstro, snaps, stock. I keep my stock in a box for 2 weeks before I hydrate it. So really, as long as you take the proper steps. No. I keep when we pre-clean, we keep all the grower wrappers on. All we do is slide the grower wrapper down or pull it up depending on the product, clean what we can get our fingers into, put it back in the box, and drop it as we need to extend the life of it. So, all right. So again, I kind of answered this. I'm jumping ahead. It's all right, though. Flowers should not be cut when using FloraLife Express 300 no-cut formula, as cutting the stems will actually diminish the uptake of water. That's why I answered that, right? So go, everyone, true, right? No. So it is false, right? So I already answered that. You definitely can cut the product. All right. It is not necessary to use FloraLife Quick Dip when using FloraLife Express 300 or FloraLife Express Clear 200. Not necessary. Okay? What do you guys think? So I already said the Express 300, it has bacteria fighting formulas, it has stem unblockers, it has all that stuff, right? But Quick Dip and things like HydraFlor 100 and Hydrate Hydrangea, those are all designed to uptake that water and get that water up there. So it's false. All right? So you definitely want to use one of the hydration products. Now, as everyone's familiar with Quick Dip, has anyone ever heard of HydraFlor or Hydrate Hydrangea? All right, anyone? All right, so HydraFlor, this is my favorite. That's what I use. So what HydraFlor is a concentrated formula that you add to plain water, and now your entire bucket becomes your hydration bucket. And if you do it right and keep the water clean, you can keep it in there for 24 hours as recommended, but you can keep it in that for days, if not a week. Once you take it out of that and go to process it and move it into your 200 or your 300, that HydraFlor bucket, as long as you clean out any loose debris that may be in there that would lead to bacteria, you can reuse that bucket for up to a week. That same bucket. So how much time saving is that? How many times do we go in, have a bucket, take all the product out, dump it, clean it, refill it, and put product back into it? I fill up about a dozen 5-gallon buckets and a dozen or so other things every Monday. And that's what I use primarily for the entire week to hydrate. I'm just constantly rotating them from HydraFlor to 200 to 300, depending on the product needs. So it cuts down on the amount of buckets you need, it cuts down on the time. So you got to take a little extra step. Like I said, you got to keep the water clean, which is really no big deal. We have a little pasta strainer that when we take it out, we just swoop it up and we're done. Quick and simple, right? All right. Hydrate hydrangea. That stuff is amazing. So, we ever heard of allium? Right? It's like a nice little home thing with allium where you dip the hydrangea in allium and it helps to make it firmer. Well, hydrate hydrangea is the correct way to do exactly that. Hydrate hydrangea has a certain type of product in it that hydrangeas love. And it drinks it up and they get turgent. Do we know what turgent means? Firm, hard. That's what we want. Gets all the water up to the blossom so that way it can open, develop, and last longer. There's a lot of people that say, oh, I would never use hydrangea in foam. I would never use hydrangea in a wedding bouquet in Florida. The sun, the this, the lack of the water. Bogus. Hydrate hydrangea, fresh hydrangeas. I'm not saying get a month-old hydrangea, but fresh hydrangeas, good quality places like Kennicott. Hydrate hydrangea for your hydrangeas, 24 hours preferably. Cold hydrate for 24 hours. And then move them to whatever it is that you're doing with them. They can stay in the hydrate hydrangea for several days, so you don't have to move them out right away. But they get nice and firm. They last longer. I've had hydrangeas in my store, and we've done for testing. I'm a tester. I like to test stuff. We've had hydrangeas in my store for over 2 months. I have taken a hydrangea and left it in the box for a month to like extreme conditions. Then cut it, put it in hydrate hydrangea for a few days, then moved it into 200 for a few days, then moved it into 300 and let it stay there and dated all of that. I got a month in the box and I got a month out of it before it started to shrivel up. Now that was a fresh grower direct hydrangea that I purposely did that to test the product. I'm lucky enough to get a lot of free product from farms, so I took one of my free products and went through the test of it, right? All right, here's an old school thing. Is it always best to cut flower stems underwater? That's a really old school thing. What do you guys think? Cutting flowers. Why are you so hesitant? You're like 99% of the time correct. So, that is false. All right, that is definitely false. So the old school idea was, if you've been in the industry for a long time like me, I hate to say it, but old school, we used to think that there's this thing when you cut a stem, it forms an air pocket. When you cut a stem, flower, the first thing it wants to do is drink, right? It wants to suck. So it's sucking air. And those air bubbles make its way up to the head, and that affects the head of the flower, right? So it's almost like an air bubble in your vein. If it works it all the way up to your heart, it could kill you, right? So same idea, it can kill the flower. So the idea was, you cut them underwater, so the first thing that they do is drink water. Well, in theory, that sounds good. But unless you have changed that water in between everything you cut, every time you stick something in there, any form of bacteria that was on that stem is now in that water. So now when you cut it, you're just introducing more bacteria because the water's not clean. So with today's processes, you don't have to do that. Now, I'm not saying cut your stem, put it on the counter, walk away for an hour. I'm not saying that at all. But cut your stem, within 30 seconds or a minute, drop it into the bucket, into the water. As long as you're using the proper processes, or your quick dip. You know, if you're a quick dip person, I just don't use quick dip. I like the HydroFloor 100. I got turned on to it years ago, and I love it. But it's basically the same thing. I joke and say they're sisters. You know, but you know, you cut, you dip, and into your product, whether it be 200 or 300, or you cut and throw it right into your HydroFloor. Cold hydrate. So all of these, cold hydrate. Any hydrating item, cold hydrate for 24 hours. Okay? Why do I keep jumping ahead? It is the best to process flowers in cold water. I didn't even look at that. I just happened to jump ahead. So I just answered that. It's true, right? It's best to process flowers in cold water. And I'll say it again. Cold water versus hot water. Hot water harbors bacteria. You hear all these people on social media. Oh, to get your hydrangeas to last longer, put them in boiling water. To get your dahlias to last longer, dip them in boiling water. You're killing the flower. You're killing the flower. You might see an initial perk. You might see an initial reaction to it. But in long term, you're killing the flower. Proper post-harvest products, proper processes are all you need. And they're very simple processes. You just have to be diligent and follow through the steps. All right. Jumped ahead. When processing hydrangea, the best practice is to use the following steps. Soak the whole flower in cold water for up to 2 hours. Cut the stem. Place it in water with flower food and immediately place in the cooler. So, what they're saying, and again, this is one of those things out there, social media, oh, when we get our hydrangeas, fill your tub up. Fill the big tote up. Throw them all in there. Let them soak. Now, it is true that hydrangeas will drink from the blossom. Okay? It will drink from the leaves. It will drink from the blossom. That is true. But all you're doing by soaking that hydrangea is adding so much moisture to the head of the flower that it's going to rot even faster. So that's false. All right? You should be teaching this. All right. I love this one. FloraLife Clear. Crowning Glory. Not crown end glory. Crowning glory. And FloraLife Finishing Touch sprays are both finishing sprays and act in the same way. So what do you guys think? So that is our crowning glory, okay, and our finishing touch. All right, what do you guys think? Oh, question is, they act in the same way. They do the exact same thing. Okay? Yep, false. So does everyone know the difference between them? Shut up, Bob. I know you know. So does everyone know the difference? So every shop, regardless of your type of business, should be using both. And you can use them both together. Not at the exact same time, but at the right stages. So in the simple terms, Finishing Touch is a hydration solution. It absorbs into the botanical and improves the hydration of that botanical. It makes it live and last longer. It gives it its last fighting chance to open and develop to its fullest potential. So for everyday designs, like retail designs, when you're sending out that arrangement about a third of the way open and you want that to develop and last really long for your clients, that's what you should be using. Every retail design, funeral work, everyday arrangements, even wedding work should be sent out with Finishing Touch sprayed on it. Now the directions are spray it, let it dry, put it in the cooler. That's the directions. I use a lot of stuff off label. I spray it, it sits for a few minutes, then we put it away. I have not seen an ill effect by doing that, but if you let it dry, that is the best optimum performance for it. Okay? Now, crowning glory is a sealant. It locks all the moisture in and prevents wilting from lack of water, lack of nutrients. So that is best for flowers to wear, or any botanical that has no water source, or any botanical that has reached its maximum bloom and you want it to stay alive. So you got a wedding and you got this beautiful garden rose, it's blown completely open, and you're like, please last for the event. Crowning glory. Spray it both sides, crowning glory. I'm sorry? Say that one more time? Corsages, yes. So any flowers to wear, that would be corsages, boutonnieres, crowns, body flowers, anything that does not have a water source. And I don't think this is in my questions, so I'm going to answer. I'm going to throw another thing in there when it comes to body flowers and products. How many people use cold glue? Cold glue. When you do your corsages or any flowers to wear or anything with no water source. So you should. Don't use hot glue. No hot glue. Hot glue is just as bad as hot boiling water. You burn the botanical. So cold glue is, even if you're not making your corsages with cold glue, if you're still a wire and tape, I glue, but I'm still a wire and tape. Like I learned by wiring and taping. That's all we did back then. So all you do is with the cold glue is when you cut your botanical, you just seal the ends with some cold glue, let it dry, and then work with it however you're going to work with it. If you're using it into a flowers to wear item like a corsage, boutonniere, pocket square, crown, anything like that, the best way to use cold glue is you dip it or you use the tube. I'm a tube user. So a lot of people make a little puddle and dip. Whatever works, same difference, right? So you take that, get that glue on that cut stem, place it where you want, count to 3, remove it. Count to 3, put it back. So what that's doing is that's transferring some of the glue from the botanical to the location. A. B. It's allowing the fumes to evaporate some. It's allowing the glue to form a little bit more tackier. So when you reinsert that, then you hold it for your few seconds until it bonds. That is the ideal way to use cold glue in all locations. Now, if you're just using it to like seal the stem and wire and tape, you would just put it on, put it aside, let it dry, and then wire and tape. So even if you're wiring and taping, you should still cold glue because it's the best optimum thing. Yes, corsage tape is designed to block the stems, and yes, it's designed to hide your mechanics, but a little bit of cold glue goes a long way. It's the best optimum thing for you. After your botanical has fully hydrated, and then when you're done with it, so I said before about how to use these things in tandem. So if you're doing like a corsage, for an example, and you've got a bunch of spray roses or a bunch of ranunculus, whatever it is, you can spray that whole bunch with finishing touch. You can start working, and when you're all done, it's now dry, and it's all done, and your all glue is all set up, and your wire and tape, you're all finished, then you soak it down with Crown and Glory. So what you've done is you've given it that last bit of nutrients by spraying it with finishing touch, that last bit of hydration that it requires, that it would love to have, and then you're sealing that nutrients in. You're sealing that moisture in with the Crown and Glory. So that's the optimum thing for any flowers to wear, for any item that has no water source. So if you're like draping flowers from a ceiling, or you're draping things on an arch, or you're adding things in to a sign and there's no water source, those are all the best steps you use for that. All right? This one I love. This one a lot of people don't know about. FloraLife Finishing Touch Spray can be used on potted plants. So remember what I said. Finishing touch is a hydration, right? True. Yes, it can. It can absolutely be used on potted plants. So it is for all botanicals. So anything alive, you can use it on. I have not found any ill effects on anything, and I've tried it on everything. All right. So I was talking before about powder versus liquid. I'm a liquid man. I mean, powder is great for the end consumer. It's great to send it with your wrap bouquets, anything along those lines. Some food for them is great because it gives it that extra touch. When in a retail environment, you should be sending out your designs with your flower food in them. So I'll backtrack to that. You should be designing as professional florists. You should be designing in clear water, just plain old water. And as soon as you're done, because it's only a few minutes, each design should be less than 15 minutes in most cases. So designing clear water, plain water, when you're all done, you dump that out, clean out any debris that might be in a container if it happens to be in there, and then fill it with your food. Your diluted food, your properly dosed food, okay? That way the end user, the consumer, gets all the benefits of those sugars and all the benefits of all of the bacteria fighting formula. It helps keep the water clean. You ever see water that gets all mucky and nasty and smelly and dirty? That's lack of flour food. Or too long. You know, I mean, yes, bad botanicals can cause that, but we're assuming we're all working with the best botanicals that we can get our hands on. That's what we all should be doing. Occasionally something bad slips through the cracks, and that's when you have to make that judgment call on how to use it, if you're going to use it at all. All right, so I don't have any up here, but the little packets of flour food. The Express 300 will treat 1 pint of water. So it's the 0.5 packets, which is the most common size packet that you see. They more than likely sell them here. I saw them in packets. I just didn't see what size they were. But they're the end consumer ones, the little brown paper, the little paper ones, right? 1 pint of water. 1 pint of water is roughly the most common size vase that we send out. That's about a pint. So 1 packet per. That is true. Okay? Now we also have, for the lazy people out there, we also have biodegradable packets. So you don't even have to rip them open and pour out the powder. You just throw the whole packet into the bucket of water, and the whole thing biodegrades, and it doses correctly. So that's for all the lazy people out there. All right. Most of your consumers know how to take care of fresh flowers. Most consumers. That's a big old false. Most consumers have absolutely no idea how to take care of fresh flowers. So it is important for us as industry professionals to educate not only our peers, but our consumers. It's very important. You should be sending out care tags with your designs, whether that be add water daily, or I'm thirsty, or a plant care tag, or something along those lines, because we need to educate them. We need to tell the consumers when they're picking up products to only change this water if it gets cloudy or if it's dirty, and add this amount, and keep it out of the air, keep it out of a wind from an AC, keep it out of the temperatures. We need to educate our consumers. We need to tell them that, you know, every few days, preferably give it a fresh cut, helps the botanical last longer. So all those little things that we do instinctively, we need to relay that message to our consumers. Because what happens when the consumer has a good experience with flowers? They come back. Yep. So a lot of people say, yeah. Perfect. Which one is what? That's a great idea. Right. Yeah, that's a great idea. So that's one, taking it even one step further. So, all right. What was I going to say? It was something I was about to say and you interrupted me. So that is it regarding the actual questions. It's good timing. All right, so I got about 10 minutes to answer any questions, and I promise I'll remember what I was going to say. Does anybody have any questions about anything I talked about or anything else regarding processing? Anyone? Bueller? Bueller? All right, I'm showing my age there. I'm a movie and TV thing. Yes, Mr. Bob. Yeah, I did. So again, a reminder for the few people that came in late. So Kennicott and FloraLife are offering an amazing special today. If you purchase, you should have received one of these flyers, or again, they're posted up in different locations. If you purchase any one of the products that they have on the shelves, 2 of those gallon products, you can get one of these for a fraction of the cost, for $35. That is a steal. And for the few that came in late that missed that, that is a quick mix, and it is designed to take your liquid product, set to the proper dosing, and it is designed to quickly dose the fresh amount of product. So you put your liquid in here, you turn your dial up here in the front to the right thing, and there's a little card here that tells you what to set it at. You hook it up to your hose, and most sinks you can hook a hose to your sink, and then you squeeze the trigger and fill your bucket up. That's it. Takes all the guesswork out of it. And it's an amazing offer today. There are several of the products that are on sale as well, discounted. So again, you should have gotten one of those flyers, or they're posted up in different areas. So there's several items on sale today that you should definitely take advantage of. So there's a couple things here. I'm going to briefly go over some of these that we didn't discuss in the myths. All right. So we talked about DCD. We talked about Quick Dip, Hydro, Hydrate, Clear 200, and then the foods, right? And the finishing touches. So the Ultra line. The Ultra line is super concentrated. It takes even less of this. So if I remember correctly, let me see. Here's the regular one. So this is the regular one that a lot of us should be using at the minimum, right? So this makes 64 gallons worth of end user consumer. Express Ultra makes 100 gallons. And then the regular Crystal Clear Ultra makes 107 gallons. So nearly double the amount of the regular dose. A little less than double, but nearly double. And it takes about half the amount of chemical, half the amount of product. So the amount of money that you spend is going to vary depending on the product. The time that you save is very important. Time is money, and our labor and time is expensive. And then the product itself. Depending on how you use the product, you know, the Ultra with the Express without cutting it if you want to go that route, or the Ultra Crystal Clear, but you definitely want to be using those. Oh, here's a little hack. Okay, again, I'm an off-label person. I test all sorts of stuff. Crowning Glory. All right. How often does your Crowning Glory get clogged, your spray bottle? You're constantly cleaning that sucker, constantly throwing it out, constantly changing it. It glues up on the end, and you got to clean that off, and the triggers get all sticky and stuff like that. It happens with a lot of use. It definitely happens. If you haven't experienced it, you will tonight. Hack. Febreze. Okay? This is an empty Febreze bottle. It is washed out. All right? The first few refills will have a little bit of a Febreze smell, but it's not harmful. It's not killing anything. Okay? There is something in this mechanism that is in this trigger that does not get clogged. I have had my same Febreze bottle on my counter for 2 years. I do occasionally clean the tip, because no matter whatever you do, but it never gets clogged. It always sprays. Now, I will say that FloraLife is always constantly testing their products. They are always constantly improving their products. They are testing a new spray bottle, thanks to me. So hopefully soon they will come out with one that doesn't clog. All right. I'm certified by FloraLife. I went there and spent a few days and did a training course. And I went to the scientists, and I had this discussion with them. And we ordered some Febreze bottles for them to dismantle and check out and try to figure out how they can incorporate a similar concept trigger. So look for that. All right. Their leaf shine. How many people use FloraLife Leaf Shine? Okay. So the FloraLife brand over some of the competitors' brands out there, much better. Doesn't contain as many harmful things. Our industry is all about less of harmful things, right? So the FloraLife ones, we take our extra time to make it as clean as it possibly can. If you use some of the other brands, when you're done spraying, you got this big old cloud of it, right? This doesn't cloud up as much. Some of the other brands, when you spray it, it's got a very wide pattern, so it's hard to get detailed spray. It's like if you're making a casket spray and you got an aspergillus leaf and you forgot to spray it first, and you want to spray that without getting it on the botanicals. The other sprays spray too wide, and they usually hit botanicals, and when that hits a botanical, it's bad. The FloraLife one is a little bit of a narrower spray, and you can kind of get in and do detail work. So it's a superior product all around. All FloraLife products is a superior product all around, and it is very comparisons, very to all the other brands out there. I personally feel that FloraLife has a better brand specifically for the money that you're paying, but no money is too expensive to make your products the best they possibly can. But why not get the best products in the market at a reduced price? Yes? Small. Mm-hmm. Sure. So you're, yeah. So the only other thing I would say is that the 200 does provide some nutrients, it does provide some sugars, but not as much as the 300 does. So, yeah, that would be the only thing that I would suggest seeing if a way that you can squeeze that in is the 300. Well, I would do both. 200 in your cooler buckets. So after your hydration, 200. So like in my shop, we have hydration buckets, and then we have a raw product that's already been opened up, cleaned fully, so my designers just go in there and grab what they need, right? So each one of those buckets is the 200, all right? And with the 200, if you keep the water clean, you can use that again for a week to 2 weeks. So in your cooler. Right, and that's where it stays. Yeah. Yeah, so that's perfect for your situation for the hydration. So you're doing like a quick dip or something, then into 200, that's perfect. I would just add 300 to your end consumer. So your vases, your foam, soak your foam in it, and so on. Speaking of foam, so anyone that's doing the hands-on class is going to get the opportunity to work with Renewal Foam, right? We're using Renewal Foam. So if you haven't had a chance to work with Renewal Foam, some of us in the industry were at Symposium in Palm Springs this year, and we nearly exclusively used Renewal Foam, and it is amazing. It works just like regular Smithers Oasis The only recommendation that we should make, and we learned this just by using it, is it takes a little bit longer to soak. That's it. Just a little bit longer. So if you're working with it, just plan accordingly. You know, the instant you can throw it in there in like 30 seconds, it's soaked down and you've gotten it. Speaking of, this is not part of it, but we don't push our foam underwater, right? Uh-oh, I'm stealing somebody's thunder. All right, so anyway, renewal foam. It is the next step towards eco-friendly products. And like I said, Smithers in general and FloraLife, a division of Smithers, is very careful about the environment. They're very careful. I'm sorry? It is. Okay. You can manipulate it just like black foam. You can do all the same things to it. Its biggest factor is the fact that it is much more eco-friendly. It's not 100% there. It's about 85 or 89 or something like that. So it's almost there. I'm sure that they're still working on it, and I'm sure in a few years they'll come out with something and it will be 100%. So that's pretty much it. So no more last minute questions?
Thank you, Ralph.
Thank you, sir. So anyone that's doing a hands-on class, bring these over with you to the hands-on class. These are yours to keep. The flyers are yours to keep, obviously. So bring these over because Mr. Tucker is going to have you fan yourselves all day long.
Let me introduce myself real quick. I'm Bob Tucker with the Florida State Florist Association. I'm the executive director. Ralph is actually our president-elect. Lisa in the back is on our board of directors. And Shannon from Kennicott here is on our board of directors. So first off, I want to thank Shannon and, I'm sorry, and Miss Gail, I'm sorry, is our chair for scholarship and education. Sorry.
Miss Gail might be our longest running board member.
Yes. 30 years.
Yep.
Yeah. We have a scholarship that is in her mother's honor. And if you want to learn more about the scholarships that we have to offer, please speak to Gail.
Yep. And if you're not a member, shame on you. It's only $100 for the year. And if you're a business owner and you, as the business owner under the business, do a membership, all of your staff automatically become members. Now, the only caveat to that is if they want to become accredited through Florida State FSMD program and any future programs that we do, they must have their own membership. But again, it's only $100. It's well worth it. Yeah, you must be a member. Yes.
So,
yeah.
But first off, I want to thank all of you for being here this morning. I know it's a Sunday morning and y'all could be home relaxing and resting, but you're here to educate yourselves, and that warms my heart that you're doing that. All of us that are on this board of for Florida State, we're all volunteers. We volunteer our time to be here to do these things to educate you so that you can become better florists, better retailers. Again, I want to thank Shannon and Kennicott for hosting us today.
Yep. And our sponsor, Smithers FloraLife. Yep.
So I know Shannon has lunch ready for everybody. So if you would, we're going to be doing the hands-on portion in the next room over. Take your chair, find you a spot, take your little thumbs up, thumbs down with you, and we'll be starting in about 30 minutes.
Yep.
And I'm going to stretch your minds like it's never been stretched before.
Yep, and I'll be here all the way through the end, so if anyone has any individual questions and they want to talk to me about it, I'm happy to answer them. Okay?